Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's award-winning podcast, as voted by Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and listeners. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, listen back to all our previous episodes, sit back, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Gardening with Ben. I hope we're all well today and I hope we're enjoying the autumnal weather. It's not too bad. Well, it hasn't been here in Sheffield. It's certainly been decent autumn up to now. It's still quite warm and I don't think the weather knows what to make of it yet, as we've not really had any bad wet weather in autumn. Hopefully we do get some rain and stuff, because I've seen pictures of our local reservoirs and they are pretty low, so hopefully we do start to get some rain again soon. But obviously the weather can't make up its mind, because one of my friends posted on her Facebook page that her daffodils have started popping through already, what she only planted about 6 weeks ago. So everything's always out of shape around springtime, but hopefully we will get things sorted and get things growing ready for the springtime on my plot. And I'm still thinking about getting some more bulbs planted, so I'll have to wait until payday to get some bulbs planted, unless anybody wants to send me any. But yeah, I definitely want to try and get some more bulbs in if possible, as the more bulbs, the more the bees will come to my plot and flock there and pollinate and help lots of fruit grow on my plot. So yesterday we were talking about all the fruit bushes and fruit trees that you can plant in autumn, and keeping going on your allotment and getting stuff done during the autumn time, because autumn time is a time when a lot of people retreat from the gardens. They give up on them, they leave them, they can't be bothered to go down in the cold, wet, horrible weather. But it's about keeping going and keeping that garden growing and allotment and keeping it ticking over. And that's something that I never used to do. I really never used to do it. I always used to give up in September and not start again until January, when I thought I'd best get cracking and get it all back in shape, ready for the springtime. But like I say, now I've got followers and now I have to show what I'm doing to people. I have to keep on going through these autumn and winter months, and I enjoy it actually. Even if it's just for a couple of hours, I enjoy going down. It's good to get out in the fresh air, especially if you've been stuck inside for the full week and cooped up. It's good to get that fresh air in your lungs and enjoying the fresh weather, because it does re-energise you. It certainly does me. So I never used to grow stuff in my plot during autumn, but over these last couple of years I've started looking at what you can grow in the plot, and I've tried a few myself. So let's have a talk about what vegetables you can grow in the allotment during autumn. So the first thing that I really got into trying to grow through the winter was potatoes. I kept seeing posts online saying about growing Christmas potatoes, and I thought, really? You can actually grow potatoes now and get them harvested for Christmas? I thought potatoes were something that would be ready always round summertime. But no, if you've got a greenhouse or polytunnel, you can grow Christmas potatoes. And obviously you need to grow them in tubs or buckets. Start them off around August time, plant them in buckets, and then when the weather starts getting to the frosty weather, then you move them inside into your polytunnel or greenhouse and continue to grow them in there, and you will get a harvest of Christmas potatoes. And they're something that will be ready at Christmas time, and there's not much other stuff that you'll be harvesting around Christmas time apart from obviously your sprouts. If you've been growing sprouts all year long, they're one of the longest growing vegetables to grow. Did you know that sprouts, they take the longest to grow, even though how small they actually are on the plant? You're planting them like round as seeds around February, March time, and you're not harvesting them until December time. So they're one of the longest growing vegetables to grow. So if you're growing sprouts, you need to find somewhere that they can be for the full year, really, because you're not going to be able to grow anything else there. So if you're thinking about growing sprouts, have a look at them next year, start them off nice and early, and get them growing. And there's plenty of different varieties out there now, and obviously if you grow them yourself, they might taste a lot nicer than what they taste in the shops. So have a go at growing them and let me know if you actually like them or not. Then the next thing I looked into growing was garlic. And garlic, you need to be starting it off now if you are growing it. The reason for this is because the cold weather makes the garlic clove create the bulbs inside what create the garlic clove, or it'll just stay as one big bulb. And that is something that I've recently learnt about, as I always used to plant mine around March time and I never got any good crops. So I always start them off now around October, November time, and I get some fantastic results. So if you haven't planted any garlic now, have a look at planting some, because you still have got time to get it in. It's not turned cold yet, it hasn't turned frosty, your ground's still soft, you can still get them cloves in. And if you can't get any from the garden centre, do what I did last year. Go to the supermarket, buy some cheapest garlic cloves and split them up and plant them. And then you will get loads of garlic on your allotment or in the garden. They're so easy to plant. You can do it with kids and the family. So yeah, get involved and get growing some garlic this year if you want to. The next on my list is onions. I have often grown onions from April time, planting my onion sets in the garden and growing them. The ones that you purchase from the garden centre, you get about 50 in a pack and you just plant them in the ground. Now I've done these probably most of the time, growing them from April time, but you can actually get onion sets what grow from autumn, and again it gives them longer to grow, and sometimes you can get better results and bigger onions because it's got longer to grow. They're still not ready to be picked until June, July time, but they've got a longer growing season and sometimes you can get better results. So, and they can withstand the cold weather, can onions. So if you're wanting to grow onions, have a look in the garden centre, see if they've got any onion sets left, and plant some now. Just remember to get some netting, because as soon as the green shoots start popping out of the top of the onions, they'll need netting over, because the birds do like to come down and nip the tops off the onions, which you obviously don't want. So you need to look at trying to protect them from the birds, because there's not much for the birds to be eating around winter time. They'll definitely be coming down and trying to pinch them. So just give them that extra bit of protection, and hopefully, fingers crossed, you can get a decent crop from them. So the next two I've never really tried myself, to be honest, and I'm feeling tempted to actually give them a try, because why not? I've nothing else growing at this time of year. And the first one is broad beans. Now often I'll plant my broad beans around March, April time, plant them straight in the ground and get a decent crop from them. But they always get covered in blackfly, and blackfly love to attack broad beans. They don't really damage them, they just really do congregate on them and cover them, to be honest. So that's the only thing with growing broad beans. But if you plant them now, they will be ready to harvest before the blackfly appear. So if you don't want blackfly on your broad beans, get some planted now. They have to be the winter variety. There is different varieties out there, so make sure that you're looking at the winter varieties so that you're getting the right crop of broad beans. You can obviously grow two croppings. You could plant some now, get them ready and get them harvested nice and early, and then have another crop growing to be picked later, but obviously they'll get the blackfly on them. So make sure you plant them in succession, and you can keep growing throughout autumn, winter time. Now the next one is peas. I've never known to be able to plant peas around this time of year. You'd think they'd need the hot weather for them to grow, but you can start them now and they'll be ready early on in the year. And you can obviously get, the more successions of planting that you do of peas, the more you'll keep picking. And if you're like me, the peas never make it home. You always end up picking them on the allotment and eating them as you're picking them, because they're that nice and juicy. Especially if you're taking kids down to the allotment, they'll love picking them and eating them as you're going along. And I'm sure none of them actually ever make it to the pan. You end up just eating them all yourself raw, because they are delicious. They're so juicy, they're just crisp in your mouth. So have a look around, see if there's any winter varieties of peas that you can purchase, and just plant a row in the garden and see if they come. Give them a try. If they work, brilliant. If they don't try them again, or maybe you will try them again. But yeah, try growing peas and see how you get on. The last one is spring onion. Again, I've never tried growing spring onion throughout the winter time. I've always known to plant it around March, April time, and then you're picking it around summertime. But why has it got the name spring if you're not going to be planting them now to be harvesting them in springtime? So yeah, there you go. If you're wanting some spring onion nice and early next year, have a go at planting them and see how you get on. So there are some of the things that you can be planting now in the garden to keep it going, to encourage you to keep gardening and to keep enjoying being in the garden. Because if you're not growing anything, that's one of the reasons why you give up on doing stuff on your allotment and in the garden throughout the winter and autumn time, because you're not actually growing anything. If you've got something there to tend to, then you will be encouraged to go there and actually do some gardening. So let me know if you are going to be growing some stuff through the autumn winter time. Tell me, what are you going to be planting? Whether you're going to be trying something new. Let me know if you're going out and going to get some garlic and plant it in the garden. Like I said, you've got plenty of time. Get some in the ground this weekend and you could be harvesting it next year. It's so easy to grow garlic, and I hope you do get some good success, as I do love seeing successful photos of harvests from the garden and from the allotment, especially if you've never done it before. It's always great to see people's produce when they've first grown it. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Have a go at growing something this autumn time and let me know how you get on. Until next time, as always, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts. Feel free to share them on your Instagram stories so that it spreads the word about my podcast and we get lots more listeners. Feel free to check out my social media sites, Facebook and Instagram as well, Gardening with Ben, and also my YouTube channel, to stay up to date with all my handy videos, how-to videos, and sharing my tips and advice. And feel free to check the link as well in the description for my Gardening with Ben t-shirts. Lots of funny gardening design t-shirts in there for you to purchase at great prices too. So thanks again, and as always, remember, keep smiling and keep gardening.